Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the Community Engagement Podcast. Hosting today's podcast will be
Heather Bryson
and myself, Gary Bryson. Joining us today is Nadja Korner, who is a website developer and communications manager, and Kayleigh Ptak, who is the ambassador and social media assistant at the Duke of Edinburgh's Award, Perth Kinross Association. Nadja, Kayleigh, thank you for joining us today and thank you for being so patient with us. It's taken a lot longer to set things up than we had anticipated, but we're here at last.
Lovely to meet you guys and thank you for doing this.
So, the Duke of Edinburgh's Award, Perth Kinross Association. Obviously, you're based in Perth Kinross, but where exactly are you based? And how long has the association actually been in operation?
We have been established about 30 years ago in 1990. Mainly to advise and support young people to have access to the Duke of Edinburgh Award across Perth and Kinross. We also provided training and advice for people who wanted to volunteer. And we've got several sites, but mainly we are at Meginge Castle, which is just outside Perth. Our programs at other sites as well, like the Dublin Estate or the Gannochy Trust, just based in Perth, around Perth. Some of them are in Perth and Kinross.
Who was it that initially set up the association? Are they still part of it today?
So Alistair Mayer, he's retired last year as the executive chair of the committee. He was instrumental in setting up the association. Yeah, and then it kind of developed from there, and we had constant support from Perth and Kinross Council and from the Gannochy Trust throughout this time until today, and that's been really helpful.
So how many staff and volunteers do you actually have at present?
So at the moment we have 8 part-time staff members. So we've got our development workers and they're brilliant. They work with the people directly, they work on site, and we've got admin staff, funding managers, finance managers. And there's Kayleigh and I who do the social media, the website. So we work remotely most of the time. But yeah, we always got regular meetings with everyone, which is just lovely, where we come together and we've got a very close relationship just in general, which is really nice. We've got 43 volunteers, I think, at present. They do all sorts of different things and they're just, we're just so glad to have them. They're just such a big part of the association.
What about trustees? Do you have many at present?
Yeah, we've got 12 trustees they form our committee. And that's basically where the association started with as well. And they're very passionate about the work and we all share the same values. And yeah, it's lovely working with them. They have regular meetings and they report back to us and we report back to them. So it's very much working together as a team.
12 is an absolutely fantastic number of trustees for you to have. At best, I thought you would maybe say 5 or 6. From experience through talking to other organisations, most only have a small amount of trustees, and many are actually actively looking to recruit. I think that says a lot about your association that so many individuals want to actually participate and get involved. Now, I know from looking through your website that you're able to offer several courses and that it's not just the Duke of Edinburgh's Awards. But before we talk about those other services, I'd just like to ask some questions about the award itself for anyone that isn't familiar with it. Heather, you're interested in doing a Duke of Edinburgh Award at some point. Why don't you ask the questions for this section?
Sure. So what exactly is the award and who is it aimed at?
The award is a youth programme that has 3 levels in total, so bronze, silver or gold, and can range from 14 years old to 25 and gives you the opportunity to work on new skills, volunteer in your local community. You're able to do a residential stay at your gold level and you also go on an expedition for up to 4 days if you go up to the gold level, and you can also do a physical section. So whether this is a yoga class that you already take part in or just a daily walk around your park, that can go towards your physical section. And the DUV award is aimed at anybody from any background of any ability, as long as you have the passion and the determination to work hard and to work through this award. You can do anything you put your mind to.
How old do you need to be to participate?
The starting age for the DUV award is usually 14, but it can be any age. You don't need to start at bronze. You can start at silver if you're 15 or 16, or if you're in your late teens or in your early 20s, you can start at your gold.
I've done a little bit of research into the award, and I know that there are 3 different levels: bronze, silver, and gold. What is the difference between the levels, and do you have to start with bronze before going on to silver, then gold?
The differences between the levels are you start kind of at a beginner's level when you do bronze, but when you go on to silver, it's kind of a medium level of sections. So the amount of time that you do each section, whether this is physical, your skill, or your expedition, or your physical section, can vary depending on the award level you're doing. And then when you get to gold, it's obviously the last and the most exciting level, so it's even more challenging and has more components to it than the bronze and the silver levels. It takes 9 months to a year to complete each section, depending when you start and how often and how much work you put into each section and level. You can start at bronze if you want to, but you're not required to. You can start at any level that you would like to, whether this is bronze, moving on to silver and then gold. I started at silver because of my age at the time, which was 15, and then I decided to take on the challenge of gold, but I've never done bronze, so everybody is completely different and can choose to do different levels at whatever stage they are in ages and in life.
What does each level comprise of?
So all the levels apart from gold are made up of the volunteering, the skills and the physical section, and the most exciting and most look forward to section for each of the levels that you can do through DOV is your expedition. And the differences between these is it can be from 3 months up to a year, and the amount of days that you spend away on your expedition can vary from 3 nights to 4 or 5 nights away. And then, of course, as I mentioned previously, the residential section is completely different to when you work on bronze and silver. So you're put in a situation with people you don't know in a residential setting to work together as a team and to learn skills that are useful for when you're in the workplace or in your future after you've finished DOV.
What is required to complete each level, and how is completed work evidenced?
So each level is evidenced through either taking photographs of the sections or your expedition that you have taken part in, or actually showing something that you have done, whether this is completing a course for your skill section or showing evidence of the volunteering you have taken part in. And it can range from about 3 months up to a year in terms of how long you can complete each section. But as I mentioned previously, it can purely depend on the DOV award level that you're currently working on.
What happens once someone signed up to do the award? What is the process?
So if somebody is looking to sign up for the award, it's always great to check what is available in your local area. So if you are in Perth Kinross or just the catchment area, you can contact us directly, for example, to see what programs we have running, if there's anything that suits your age and your level. Or if you're in a different area, it might be useful to go to the DOV website, for example, or to ask in your school. They often know actually who to contact.
When it comes to signing up to do the DOV award, in my experience, the DOV leader that was at my school actually running DOV programs came to me and said that there was an opening for a new Open ASN group for participants who had additional support needs who were going to be given the chance to start doing DOV. So that is how I was given the chance and first heard about DOV.
Kayleigh, can I just jump in here and ask another question? You mentioned that you have additional support needs and that you do use a wheelchair. You also said that you initially felt that it would hold you back from participating in the Duke of Edinburgh's award. How did you find it? How supportive were they? What sort of challenges, if any, did it present? And were you able to cope with everything okay?
When I first heard about each section and how we were going to plan to do it and start the journey of doing DOV, it was quite overwhelming at first. But when we started to break it into small chunks and decide, right, this is what level we're going to be working at, this is the sections that we're going to be doing, this is how we're going to plan the expedition, I felt a lot more at ease, and I really did feel quite quickly and early on that this is something that I was very passionate about, and it's shown me that yes, I have additional support needs, And yes, I'm a wheelchair user, but that shouldn't be a barrier. And as I said earlier on, anybody of any ability from any background should be able to be given the opportunity to do DAV. I have done numerous things that have enabled me through DAV to experience something that I never thought I could have done, especially through the use of the off-road wheelchair that I used throughout my expeditions. Without the use of that, I would never have been able to experience the beautiful scenery and surroundings that I was able to experience when I was out on expeditions. And one of my most probably memorable highlights of my silver expeditions was when we drove the bomber through a stream.
That's great, that's never held you back in any way, Kayleigh. Heather, do you want to go on with the next question?
Why does anyone sign up for the award? What are the benefits to be had?
The reasons why I signed up was because I wanted to see where this opportunity would take me, and it has given me experiences that I never thought I would have. I've met royalty, I've been one of the first youth ambassadors, and I'm a member of the Further Education Advisory Panel, as well as working as part of the association. The benefits of why people sign up is because they want to see a new perspective of themselves and kind of gain new skills, whether this is gaining resilience and more confidence, which is partly one of the reasons why I signed up to this award, because I didn't have very much confidence and I had low resilience levels, whereas through more public speaking and the experiences that DAV has given me, it has enabled me to expand these skills.
And you mentioned there, Kayleigh, that you'd met royalty. Who have you met?
I've met the Duke of Edinburgh, formerly His Royal Highness Prince Edward.
Right, Prince Edward. So Prince Edward, so that's just quite recently then, because he's only recently taken over, obviously, from Prince Philip.
Yeah. So I was given the opportunity to go to an event at Meghan's Castle, and he was there and he was chatting to us about our experiences, and it was a very surreal moment. It was a privilege to meet him. And then again, this summer, he obviously attended the Gold Celebration event at Holyrood Palace. So it was quite exciting to see him again and get to meet him and speak to him with my teammates.
That must have been great. Do you know, I worked for New College, Lanarkshire, and at one point I was working on Prince's Trust programmes. I happened to be off on holiday for a fortnight, and during that time, I would have had the opportunity to meet Prince Charles, as he was at the time, but nobody was telling us anything because it was all hush-hush. No one was wanting to know what the plans were, so it was all very last minute. So one of my other colleagues got along to meet him. So, yeah. No, that's brilliant. Heather, do you want to go on with that last question?
Yep. Is there a cost involved in doing the award?
So for our association specifically, the costs are calculated on an individual basis. So it really depends on the funding that we have available, but also on the individual's situation. So no one is turned away because of lack of funds. We will make sure that, people are able to engage in our programs, but there's not a set cost as such that I could name here, unfortunately. But yeah, we are open to receiving everybody, really.
I know you offer more than just the Duke of Edinburgh Award, so can you provide us with some details on the other services that you do actually offer?
Yeah, so at our heart there lies the Starfish Way, which is, it was born from the fact that we all face barriers in life, and some of us don't talk about it, some of us can't talk about it, and our association focuses on people with additional support needs, just like Kayleigh and just as Kayleigh has said. So we want to help young people to overcome whatever barriers they face. We want to help them to feel achievement, to experience being part of a team, to know how to care for people and for each other. And they can do this in the Starfish Way project, where they can do different awards. So as we talked about, they can do that doing their DOV award, the Duke of Edinburgh Award, or we also offer other awards. We offer the National Navigation Award, the Saltire Award, John Muir Award, and many others. That's just to name a few here. The young people have access to Meghan's Castle, which we're very fortunate being able to use. We've got a wee Corey house there where they can seek shelter, they can do bushcraft, they can do They can learn how to make fires, how to pitch up their tents. There's all sorts of activities that we're doing. Woodwork as well, for example. So that's the main thing that we do at the association. And the Starfish Way project is very much, it can be group work, people doing the awards together, but it can also be one-to-one, depending on what the individual needs, really. And then over the last 3 years, since the pandemic, really, we have set up a distance learning hub, which evolved really as a response to the impact that people were experiencing. And we wanted to continue supporting young people involved in our programs. So we set up the distance learning hub, which has the 4 sections, just as the Duke of Edinburgh Award has. So people can use it in conjunction with their Duke of Edinburgh Award. So they can choose modules from the skills section, from the physical, also volunteering, and the people can work through them in their own time. And we've got people who do their DOV award and who use some of the modules for the DOV award. But we also have people from all over the world, really. A lot of our users are in the UK, but a lot of them are actually in Japan, in Africa. It's quite fascinating to see. And it's individuals who do their DOV, but it's also individuals who want to learn new skills, or it's parents and teachers have even requested us to use some of the materials in their classes, which is fantastic. So we have currently 42 published sets of modules that can be used for free by anybody. You can sign up for free on our website for the Distance Learning Hub. And we've got, for example, we've got chess, photography, drawing, frisbee, outdoor cooking. There's all sorts of things there. There's something for everybody, really. And Kayleigh and I are working on making them accessible to everybody. So we're adding videos and audio materials to the modules, as well as just recently we've been able to add translation to one of our modules, which is really exciting because we are working with diverse groups such as refugees and asylum seekers, New Scots in Perth and Kinross. We've added different translations to some of our modules to make them more accessible. And that also brings me actually to another interesting thing that we do. So we not only work with the young people at Meginge, for example, with the awards, but we also work with other non-profit organizations in Perth and Kinross, as well as with the community. So a lot of our Starfish Way participants go out and do some of their hours for the volunteering, for example, in sheltered housing. We've also recently started working with a group with asylum seekers and refugees to include them and to give them to be part of our community in Perth and Kinross and to help them develop new skills and to integrate with us, which has just been wonderful. And we are really looking forward to expanding this work.
So there's not much going on then.
No, not at all.
Yeah, there's a wealth of courses and programs you've got running there, and you're telling me again that the Distance Learning Hub, there's free stuff there as well, which I wasn't aware of. I've had a look at your website. It looks absolutely fantastic. It really is laid out well. It is easy to navigate, and there's tons and tons of information on it about the courses that they deliver. But you also use social media as well. I know you use Facebook, you use Twitter, or X as it's now called, and Instagram. Is it either of yourselves that actually oversees the social media content, or is it someone else?
Yeah, it is us. And thanks, Gary, for finding the website easy to navigate. That's always very good feedback. Yeah, it's myself who looks after the website, and Kayleigh and I do the social media, which is great because Kayleigh, as she will tell you in a moment, is also our ambassador, and it's a great opportunity for her to engage with young people through our social media channels. Do you want to say something about this, Kayleigh?
Mm-hmm. As part of my association ambassador role, my main aim is to encourage as many young people as possible to get involved in DOV and why it is important to do so. Because as I mentioned previously, this is something that I am keenly passionate about. And I do this through making the content that I help Nadja to create as part of my social media assistant role as engaging and as accessible as possible, whether this is in the form of audio transcriptions, our taster videos, or our main social media posts. And when it comes to my day-to-day duties as a social media assistant, I tend to advertise something that has happened within our Starfish Way project groups, or if our open group participants have been out on an expedition, I highlight that. And I also create content in terms of any special events that are coming up. For example, Remembrance Day or COP 2023.
As I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, Nadja, you are the website developer and communications manager at the association, and Kayleigh, you're the ambassador and social media assistant. If we can just start with yourself, Nadja, what is your background? How did you actually end up at the association?
Thanks, Gary. So I actually ended up at the association because I wrote some modules for them, for the Distance Learning Hub. So I found it on the internet, and I have a background in mindfulness, meditation, and healthy living, healthy eating. And I thought I would love to write a module for the Distance Learning Hub to reach more people. So I did that, and I just loved the work they do. And over the course of 6 months, I got more and more involved in also managing some of the content and some of the Distance Learning Hub. First of all, freelance with my own business. But then I was happy enough that 2 years ago, I got a contract for part-time work with the association, which is just wonderful. And as it says in my job title, I have experience in website development and managing website and communication channels. So that's how I got involved mainly then. And now I oversee other areas as well. So it's always expanding, as I've talked about before. But yeah, that's a little bit about my background.
What do you enjoy most about your job? What's the highlights?
I think it boils down eventually to the same values and passions that we share. I know it's a common thing in the third sector, with our association especially. Everybody is so passionate about the work they do, and just this brings us really close together, and we all value each other's opinions, and we're all happy to share, and we're always allowed and it's valued to share our opinions. So we're always constantly working together. There's no hierarchy as such, if that makes sense. It's really just, working together on the same level with the same values and helping so many people. It's just wonderful.
And that is the story that we hear time and time again from organisations operating in the third sector. There's a real passion and desire to help others, which you don't necessarily find elsewhere. Kayleigh, what about yourself then? What's your background and how did you end up working with the association?
My background starts back in 2017 when I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do next in my life, nearing towards the end of leaving school. And then I was approached by my school's DOV leader, who highlighted to me that a brand new ASN open group was going to be starting to enable people like me who have additional support needs to allow them to do Duke of Edinburgh. And I never thought that it would be something that I would be able to do, but I took on the challenge and I said yes to being part of the group starting at Silver to begin with, and I've never looked back. After doing Silver at the beginning of 2020, we decided to take on the challenge of doing Gold. So as you'll remember, the start of 2020 was the beginning of the pandemic, and a lot of our sections and our expedition had to be moved to remotely or a hybrid expedition, so it was very different to what we were used to in terms of doing our Silver expeditions, but it kept us going and it gave us a purpose during lockdown and it kept us busy. And then after doing both and achieving most of my sections throughout the pandemic and in lockdown, I was given the opportunity and nominated to be one of the first DOV Youth Ambassadors, the first cohort when it was first thought of and created back in 2021. So that gave me numerous opportunities to work with different young people from all over the UK and enabled us to expand our confidence, our presentation skills and our social skills, and it enabled me to see a different perspective and why the young people's opinions and views are so important. After that, when I completed my stint as the first youth ambassador, I was then given the opportunity to become a member of the Further Education Advisory Panel, where our main aim is to encourage as many people as possible who are at uni or at college that maybe weren't given the opportunity or didn't do DOV in a school setting, but they'd maybe like to do it on top of their coursework at university or college, because we've seen a drop in the amount of people who are my age, who are students, that don't do it as often in these higher education settings. So it's been nice to give a young person's perspective and a participant's perspective on why it's so important that people in higher education settings should be given the opportunity to do DAV no matter what background or ability they have. And then after this, once I joined the advisory panel after a few months, I was very nicely given the opportunity to begin working as an association ambassador and social media assistant here at our association. And it's been an honour and a privilege to do this. And in a way, I see it as a way of giving back to the people that have helped me so much, that have been on this journey with me from the very first day of doing DAV. I feel like it's nice to give back to them and share a perspective from our participants' point of view, but also as a staff member of the association, to show the young people, if they work hard and put their mind to anything, they could do anything that they want to.
That's a great way to end this question, Kayleigh, because you yourself, you are proof that you can achieve anything if you put your mind to it. So, the last section we're going to cover is on volunteering, and I'm going to get Heather to take over from here, because although she's only 11, she does some volunteering on a Saturday with a local organisation called the Sporting Aces. Heather, it's over to you if you'd like to ask the questions about volunteering at the association.
Yep. You mentioned at the beginning of the podcast that you have 43 volunteers at present. Are you actively looking to increase the number of volunteers you currently have?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we've got such lovely volunteers, but we are always looking for new volunteers. It's such a nice thing to engage with new people, and people can volunteer with us in different ways. They can volunteer as drivers, they can come with us on expeditions, they can come to us at McGinge. We have a lot of volunteers who do gardening at McGinge with the young people. They can volunteer remotely. We're always looking for people who help out with the distance learning hub. And there's no skills required as such. So we're just really glad for anybody who has some spare time and who would like to help and get involved.
How old do your volunteers need to be, and is there a minimum amount of hours you would expect a volunteer to carry out?
We don't have a minimum age or minimum hours that people need to do with us. We're quite flexible. As I said before, we are very happy for anybody who wants to get involved in whatever, to whatever extent they can. So they can support for the volunteering section or with the awards we're doing. So there really isn't any minimum of age or hours.
What benefits do volunteers bring to the association, qualities, skills, etc.?
I would say that the volunteers that work with us at the association have many benefits, because not only are they seeing a change in how the young people present themselves socially, but they are giving back to the local community. And as Nadja said, we are very grateful to have the amount of volunteers that are currently working for us. But then again, if people, after listening to this podcast, would like to volunteer with us after hearing what we've talked about today, then please do, because we'd love your support.
What training or experience would you be able to offer a volunteer?
So we can offer CPD relevant training to whatever the volunteers are supporting us with. For example, if the volunteers are coming on expeditions, we can offer them courses that are relevant to expeditions. And I think it's just what most of our volunteers said, is they just having such a great experience in seeing how they can help the young people. And as Kayleigh said, how the young people are opening up more and more to them. So I think, yes, we do provide training, definitely, if people are looking for that. But it's also, I think, just the experience with the young people and the way of giving back, and that they can be outside at McGinge, outside in the beautiful countryside in Scotland, or yeah, I think that's the main experience that volunteers can get and that they really appreciate of what we have heard from our volunteers.
Do you have a standout volunteer that you are aware of who goes above and beyond? If so, what can you tell us about them, and what do you think motivates them?
I would love to take this opportunity to shout out Kate Somerville, who was my group's team leader from the very first day of doing our silver expedition when we first started this journey back in 2017, because she has been an amazing mentor for us all and has kept us on track to achieve each section as and when it needs to be handed in, and without her we wouldn't have achieved as much as we have. And she really has shown us if we're determined and hardworking enough, we can do anything that we set our minds to. So I would really like to take this opportunity to say a big thank you to her if she is listening. Thank you, Kate.
I think all our volunteers, just as Kate is a wonderful example of what our volunteers like, they're all just really, really wonderful. And just to say again, we're so grateful for having them, and they play such a big role in the organization. We've got a wonderful gardening team, actually, who regularly supports the work at our site in McGinch. The team ranges actually in age, and some of them are slightly older than others, but they're just so great together, and they organize and support the flower and veg beds, and also work together with our students. Some of our students really enjoy gardening, and they implement their ideas into how they design the veg and flower beds. And it's just wonderful to see them so engaged. And they've been working with us for, I think, over 18 months now, and they're still really enjoying volunteering with us. And I think what motivates them most is just seeing how they can support those young people and seeing them grow, especially the young people with additional support needs, and how their potential has really developed and how much opportunities they've been given, also through the gardening and through the love of gardening. So yeah, just a big shout out to all our volunteers, really. They're just such wonderful people who help us.
If anyone wants to get in touch to volunteer, how can they get in touch?
So you can get in touch on our website, on our social media. You can phone the office. For anything really, for volunteering, for doing some of our programs, to use the Distance Learning Hub.
And those details, such as the web address, email address, telephone numbers, etc., will be displayed at the end of the podcast if anyone would like to find out more about the Duke of Edinburgh's award, Perth Kinross Association. And lastly, what is the future for the association? Are there any plans for expansion or any exciting events coming up in the year ahead that you'd like to mention at all?
Yes, as I said before, we are constantly expanding, and there's so many exciting things that we are doing. As I said, we are doing our programs, the one-to-one support. We're doing family activities as well, the young people with their families. Recently started doing programs for refugees and asylum seekers. As I mentioned before, we work in partnership with Perth Autism as well, and we're trying to reach out to more and more schools in Perth and Kinross with our Starfish Way. So those are just a few of them, but I think the most exciting one that is ahead is we recently received keys to our hut in Cultibregan, which is going to enable us as a second site in West Rural Perthshire to have an activity centre and also a residential centre for young people to go there and to do some living on their own, to experience what it's like to live on their own, to do their residentials, to go on expeditions. So we are currently undergoing the renovations, and it's going really swiftly, and we're preparing the site to use as soon as possible. And if you are interested in these things, please do follow us on our socials. We always post updates, and we hope to welcome everybody for our big opening. It's really exciting. And there's also, of course, our Distance Learning Hub, which Kayleigh and I are both very passionate about. So for everybody who wants to go onto the Distance Learning Hub, we are constantly adding new modules as well. So we are currently working on 4 new modules, which should be released. 2 of them should be released at the end of January. That's all I can say for now, but there's definitely, we are expanding on variety, and we're expanding that we have more modules for the silver level as well. So keep checking on there for updates.
And I have had a look on your social medias, on your Facebook, and I know exactly the huts that you're talking about. It really looks like you've got a cracking setup. It's really, really impressive. Nadja, Kayleigh, that brings us to the end of the podcast. It's been really great talking to you both, and we'd just like to thank you both for taking the time to join us today and to talk about the Duke of Edinburgh's award, Perth Kinross Association.
Thank you, Gary and Heather, for taking the time to record this, and also for all the wonderful work you're doing. It's really appreciated.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity to give a more in-depth insight into what our association does and how we aim to help young people in the Perth Kinross area.
Thank you very much. If anyone would like to find out more about the association, contact details will be available at the end on the screen for the podcast. We hope that you've enjoyed listening to the podcast, and we hope that you'll join us again in the future. Till the next time, it's bye from me, Gary Bryson.
And it's a bye from me, Heather Bryson.
Bye.
Bye.